and welcome to another edition of the Sewing Guru. Now in this particular video I'm going to show you how to attach the welt pockets into the front panels of your waistcoat. Now as you can see, I've put the front panel on the mannequin, and it's just to show you where we are at this moment in time. Now as you know, we've already put our fitting darts onto the front panels of our waistcoat. So we're now ready to put our welt pockets in place. Now of course the positioning of the welt pocket will vary from size to size. Okay, now you can find the exact point of where the welt's going to go with your pattern. Okay, so now that we've got all that sorted out, the first thing what you need to do is print off the welt pocket pattern. Now this pocket pattern comes in a PDF file, so it's easy to print off, and you can find it on the site on this page next to this video that you're watching right now. Now the pattern for the welt pocket comes in three parts: the main welt with the bag, the lining for the bag, and of course a pattern for the interfacing as well. So it comes in three parts. So print those off, and when you've done that, we're ready to go. So I've got all of my things laid out on the pattern table, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing what you need to do is we need to cut this pattern out. So print it off. When you've done that, we now need to cut it out. So get your paper scissors and just cut around the pattern. Now as you can see, I've cut all of mine out apart from this one to show you how to do this. So just cut this out. Very simple. Okay, this is nearly done. There we go. So that's our pattern now cut out. Now as you can see, we've got four parts here. We've got the main welt, which is the welt top part and the bag as one piece. We've got the under pocket bag, which is usually in a lining, but you can also use that as a fabric as well. It's up to you how you do that. And of course we've got two parts here for the interfacing or fusing. So the first thing is we need to cut out the actual main welt and the pocket bags. Now as you can see, let's have a look, this waistcoat of mine has got stripes. Now it's up to you which way you have these stripes running. You can cut out your welt pockets so that the stripes are running this way, but of course if you do that, you've got to make sure that the stripes are running exactly the same as your welt is. Now of course you can get away with it slightly not matching up exactly, because of course we've got a fitting dart in here. Or you can have the stripes running this way. So then you don't need to worry about getting the stripes matching up exactly. This is completely up to you. There is no right and wrong way. So you can have the stripes running either this way, vertical or horizontal. It is totally up to you. So now that we've got that established, I'm going to have my stripes running the correct way. Okay, so once you've done that, you need to cut out the pocket welt and bag, the main part, in the fabric. So we're just going to position that on the fabric itself. Okay, now because of course we've got two pockets, we're going to be cutting two. Now as you can see, my fabric is doubled over, so we can just cut this in one go, and we're going to be cutting out two in one go. So you're just going to put the pattern onto the fabric like this. Okay. Put another pin at the top here to secure that. Now this part here, you can either cut out in fabric or you can cut it out in lining. It is totally up to you. Now I find that if the fabric is thin enough, then you can cut it out in fabric itself. If you're using, say, a very thick wool, I would then cut it out in a lining, because what happens then is it keeps the pocket nice and thin and there's not a huge amount of bulk. So because I'm using a thin wool, I'm going to cut out my pocket bag in lining. So I'm going to be positioning this pattern on my fabric as well. So let's just put that on there. Now of course we're going to be cutting out 2 of these. So 2 pocket bags and 2 welt and bag together on that pattern there. So let's just position this nicely. Okay. There we go, like that. And I'm just going to quickly cut this like that. Okay, I'm going to discard this for now because I'm going to be cutting around this later on. And I'm just going to go over now the interfacing part. Now of course I need my interfacing for this. Now of course we've got again 2 actual pockets, so we're going to be needing 2 of those and 2 of those, okay, because of course it says here cut 1, but that corresponds to only 1 welt. So let's have a look at what fusing we can use here, because there is quite small parts. Okay, now fusing, we can get away with putting 2 pieces of fusing together like this and cutting them out. Okay, now that's not going to be enough there, but this part is going to be enough, so we're just going to position this part of the pattern on the fusing like that. Okay, so that's that, and we can just, I'm just going to cut around this. Now as you notice, there's a small V part. Now I'm not going to cut that until the fusing is attached to my pocket, and then I'm going to just trim that. It's just a lot easier to do it that way. But as long as we've got the entire interfacing for the welt part cut, okay, the main parts here cut like that. Okay, now it doesn't have to be a perfect cut, because like I say, when you fuse it onto your pocket welt here, then you can go around and trim the excess parts off later on. So just bear that in mind, it doesn't need to be a perfect fit. Okay, so again, this we're going to need interfacing for this part as well. Now I've got quite a large chunk here of interfacing, which I can use. Of course this is doubled. Now hopefully that'll fit in there, which it does, which is fantastic. So let's just cut this part off here, discard this, and then we can just put some pins on here, ready to cut this. There we go. Ooh. Right. So I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to cut out these fusing parts, and I'm going to cut out these parts of my fabric, and then we're ready to go over to the iron and fuse our interfacing in place on our welt pocket fabric. Okay, so we've got all of our pocket bags and our welt pocket cut out. So you need to remove your pattern, of course, and what I've done is I've marked here the wrong sides of my cloth, okay? So you need to mark those on with chalk. And the same again with these pocket bags. The wrong sides I've marked with a small cross, so I know which is the right side and the wrong side of my fabric. So just remove all your pattern pieces from your interfacing and everything. And the first thing what we're going to do is we're going to fuse our main welt part, okay? So that's going to be the largest part of the pattern, okay? As you can see there, let's have a look at the pattern. It's this part here, okay? That's what we're going to be working with. So first of all, we need to use the largest part of interfacing. As you can see, this is a lot bigger than these strips here. We're going to fuse these large pieces onto our fabric first of all. Let's just take these excess threads out of the way. The worst thing is to get threads stuck in between your fusing and your fabric. So make sure that all of this is nice and clean and there's no fabric, no threads in between. So just place your interfacing onto the wrong sides of your fabric, okay, like that. So make sure that the bobbly parts of your fusing are facing down onto the wrong sides of your cloth or the actual welt pocket, like that. And just fuse these on here like that. Okay, now make sure of course that the iron is not too hot, because what can happen is the fusing can melt and it can start to curl onto the cloth itself, and you don't want that. Otherwise you're going to have to cut out a new piece of fusing and do it again. So as you can see, we're just fusing these on here. The glue's melting onto our cloth. Make sure that that's all nicely fused on there, like that. And use a bit of steam if you like, just to really give that excess heat. There we go, like that. Oh, now that's starting to curl a little bit. Now I was very lucky there. Did you see that? That started to curl. Now we don't want that. So just be careful that that doesn't happen. Right, that's fine. Turn this over, just press this a bit more. Okay. Now, as you remember, I said we can cut these small little slit parts later on. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. Let's just cut these like that. Really, really neaten this off. There we go, so that's that. Do the other one as well. Just cut off any excess fusing here. Like that. So that this all becomes very, very neat. And you can see exactly where you are with your pocket and pocket bag. Just cut a little bit more, like that. Okay, so now that we've done that, okay, make sure again that there's no threads in between your fusing. Make sure that all this is totally clean of threads, thread ends, and we need to now fuse the top part of our welt again. Okay, so make sure that the bobbly part of the fusing is facing down onto the wrong side, like that. So you're going to get like a double layer of fusing onto your welt pocket, and what that does is it really gives a nice stiff look to it, real clean cut, and that's what you want, you see, with your pocket. You want it to look really, really clean cut. Okay. Just press this down, make sure the fusing really, really sticks to that nicely. Give it a bit of steam if you like. Just really press that down on there. Okay. I'm going to just cut this excess fusing off here again. Now this top part, which we've sort of double fused, is of course the welt part, which you will see when it's attached to your waistcoat. Okay, this top part here is the top of the welt, which basically folds over like that, and this is the part that you see when your hand goes in like that. So of course this needs the real stiffening of the fusing to really, really make it look nice and clean cut, and it's going to look really good. So let's just cut this excess part like that, and a little bit there. There we go. Again, we can fuse this. Just press this a bit more. Really, really get that fusing on there, really nicely pressed, and that is going to stay permanently on our cloth. Okay, so that's really nice. Okay, so I'm going to continue fusing this part of my pocket, and then when I've done that, we're ready to put our welt onto our waistcoat front panel. Now when you've done your fusing and you've got all of your welt pockets sorted out, you're now ready to start putting these welt pockets onto your front panels, ready to stitch them in place. Now as you can see, we've got the wrong sides of our welt pocket here, where you can clearly see the interfacing, and of course I've put a little cross on the pocket bags here. And it's very important that we get this correct. Now the next bit is, I've also marked where my welt pocket's going to be on my waistcoat, and I've just done that with pins. Now before you start, make sure that you've marked both of your panels, okay, the left and the right, so that you can get them exactly the same for both. Now I'm just going to show you one side, because of course it's exactly the same for both sides. So first of all, as you can see, I've got the waistcoat front like this. As you can see, this is the bottom of the waistcoat, the hem here. If I bring this up a bit, and you can see the arm side here. So that's the positioning of the waistcoat. So what you need to do first of all is get the main welt part, and you need to be looking at the wrong side so you can clearly see the fusing. Now as you notice, the welt has got the bottom part of the pocket angled like this. Now that needs to correspond exactly to the angle of your waistcoat front panel. So it's very easy to see where this goes. So as you can see, this angle corresponds to that. So that's the right side. Now this side corresponds the other way. So of course this pocket goes on the other panel. So you need to just position your welt pocket exactly where the slit is going to be. So the raw edge of the top of your welt is going to be positioned exactly in line where your slit is going to be. So it's going to sit exactly like that. Now because we've got stripes on here, what we need to do is get the first part, so beyond the dart, where the stripes are going to match with the stripes here. So we're just going to position that where the stripes are going to match. Let's just bring that down, because of course that's going to be positioned like that. And as you can see, if I position that like that, you can see that the stripes are going to carry on and match on my welt. So now that we've got that, we can just put some pins in there just to position our pocket down in place. Now as you can see, the pocket has gone slightly over where the edge of my pin is here. That doesn't matter because we've got the pins matching, or the stripes matching exactly here, okay, and it's not gone over that far, okay. Now if your pocket was way over, then you need to bring it back, okay, but you need to get it more or less in the exact point of where your pocket is going to be if you've got stripes. If you haven't got stripes and plaids and your waistcoat is plain, then you can just put that in the exact point of where your markings are. So we're just gonna put some more pins in here just to position that in place. Now I can bring my pin out here, put another pin here as well, okay, and now we need to get the bag, and bring that out as well, a pin there. We need to get the bag which is going to correspond with this, and again it's a mirror image. So as you can see, my waistcoat bag is angled like that, so here the bag is angled like that, and it's a complete mirror image. So we're just going to position the pocket bag on there like so, and let's just put some pins in there like that, and another pin here, okay, but you must have it so that the raw edges of your welt are touching each other. Okay, like that. Now I'm also going to put a pin here as well, and what that does is it will keep our waistcoat bag flat and out of the way, and we can do that for the bottom as well. Okay, it just keeps that bag flat and out of the way. Now the first thing what we need to do is we need to just press this small part over of our welt. Now as you can see, we've got a slit here, and if you were to fold it right back, the slit would go completely to its end point. Now don't do that, just bring it so it's halfway, okay, so that you're just pressing this over a very small amount. So let's just press that. Make sure that that is nicely pressed. Okay, we're doing that on both sides. Just pressing that over just a slight amount, not the whole way. So that's nicely pressed down. Okay, so that's the first part. And when you've done that, we're now ready to stitch this welt pocket in place. Now this part is very important that you get this correct. Now we're going 1 centimetre in, and we're starting from the edge of the welt here, so we're getting this folded part of the welt in as well. Okay, so that's going to be stitched down, so it's going to catch this folded part in place. So we're going 1 centimetre down, we're starting from here right across to this point here. Now with the pocket bag, where this part was folded, you can see the raw edge here of the welt. That's our starting point. So we're starting at that point in alignment, but again 1 centimetre down. And we're going right across to this point at the other side. So what happens is that the stitching on the bag is shorter than the stitching on the welt part of the pocket. So stitch from here to here, and then on the welt from here to this point here, and make sure you catch these folded parts of the welt in as well. So now that we've stitched our pocket bag and welt in place, if you turn this over, you can clearly see on mine that I've got one stitching shorter than the other. Okay, so that's exactly how it's going to look. So it's like a kind of a pyramid sort of look to it. So as you can see, this stitching here is shorter than this stitching here. So now what we've got to do is we've got to slit this in place. We've got to slit it through. So what the best bet to do is just turn your waistcoat in half like that, where the actual bags are and the welt. Make sure that the stitching matches itself like that, so you know that this is in half. And just slit through like that. Okay, not all the way, but at least now you've got a starting point, and we're right in the middle here. Turn this over, and we're now going to slit through the middle, but do not go beyond the shortest stitching, okay, because what we're going to do, it's very much like a piped pocket where we're going to be slitting into the corners. So you need to slit about a ½ centimetre before the end of the shortest stitching, because if you go beyond that, then that's it. Your whole pocket and the front panels are completely ruined and you've got to start again. So really make sure that you do not go beyond that. So let's just stitch, let's just keep slitting through this until that point. Okay, turn this over, and as you can see, we now need to slit through the shortest point. So go towards the end, like that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to be slitting right through to the corners, including the pocket bag, but we're just slitting through the waistcoat part, not the welt part of this pocket bag. So we're slitting through that only. So let's just explain that. So this part here, as you can see, is the welt part and the bag. So that we're only slitting through the waistcoat part of the front panel. So just make sure that you only slit through to there, like that, into the corners, like that. So only grab the waistcoat part. So we're slitting right through into the corners, as you can see. So this part is all kept neat, and there's nothing slit through here, only the waistcoat part. Now this part, which is going to be the pocket bag, you can slit through the bag and everything, the whole waistcoat, the bag, the lot, into the corner, like that. Okay, so we turn this over, as you can see, we slit through the bag and everything, but not on the welt part. So when you've done that, we can now start pressing this welt pocket in place. Most of this part now is just pressing the whole thing and pulling it through the slit. So we're going to take these pins out, because we don't need this anymore now, because they were just nice and flat and out of the way while we slit this. So make sure that these parts here are nice and flat. And we're just going to turn this over, and we need to press this down. Now it's a little tricky this, because we need to just make sure that this part is kept folded back, so we can just press this. Now I usually just like to manipulate this part with some scissors, keeping that folded back, and press that. Okay, and the other side as well. Just keep this manipulated and folded back, like that. We can just press the whole thing. Like so. Now this press line I've clearly marked on the pattern. Okay, now you see that's what happens. You see, it's actually quite tricky this part here, because it just doesn't want to fold. Just make sure that that is pressed and folded in. Okay, because the more you press at this point, the easier it becomes when you fold it all through and it's all neatly pressed. Okay, so that's neat now. Yeah, that's fine. I'm happy with that. So now we can just pull the whole bag through here. Like that. Pocket bag as well. Okay. Now this part here underneath the welt, as you can see, we just need to just press this open as well, because it's all about getting this all nice and flat. So just press this. Nice and open like that. Okay. And this part as well, we can press this, make sure that's pressed open. As well. And like I say, it's all about getting this all nicely manipulated in place. Now the little V parts, make sure that they're flat, going into the pocket itself here. Make sure it's all flat. And it is a little bit of manipulation here, but eventually you will get it. So just press it all. Now if I turn this over, you'll be able to see the formation of the pocket. And see that? That's the formation. That there needs to come up like that. But keeping everything nice and flat and neat. Okay, it's all a little bit tricky, but once it's all pressed in place, you're going to have a nice pocket. So just keep pressing all this so it's all neat and it's all in place before we can stitch the bag. Okay, so it's just a matter of just pressing this and getting all of this neat and out of the way. And eventually you will get there. Just keep pressing. And as you can see now, the pocket's now starting to form. Turn this over. Okay, make sure that these are all out of the way and it's all neatly in place. Now as you can see, all of this needs to lie flat. Just press this part as well. Okay, like that. Now we're just going to put a pin in the bag here. Just hold that down. Just make sure that all of this is nice and neat. Now as you can see here, the next part is we need to stitch across the whole of the bag to catch all of this in place. Now including the V part here, you've got the little V parts. Make sure that they're nice and flat as well, as you can see. And we're stitching from the top around to here, across here, and then across back up the other side, catching this V in as well. And what it'll do is that will basically get everything flat and makes it a lot easier for the next part where we keep on pressing and manipulating this pocket into place. Right, so what I've done is I've stitched right round the entire pocket bags here. And if I just fold this away, these triangle parts I've really stitched close here, you see. And what that does is it will just finish off and just close this part up here. That's what those V parts do. Now it doesn't matter if they're at a slight angle, because what will happen is that this will just go over the top and you won't see that, so that's fine. So you can see we've gone right round the whole bag, and again caught the V in at this point here, gone really close to the edge of the cloth here with the V, just there. Again catching that in place, and as you can see all of that is closed up. If I turn this over, you can see how I've done that as well. We've gone right round the whole bag here. So when you've done that, the last part is we just need to just keep on manipulating these end pieces here. Yeah, and we just need to just get this nice and straight. Just keep manipulating this and make sure that that's folded back. Okay, now the best is to just get a pair of scissors and just make sure that is nice and straight and flat. Okay, manipulate that. Just keep manipulating that, okay, so it's nice and straight and flat. Okay, it's a little bit tricky, but we just need to just get this straight. Imperative that this is nice and straight. Okay, now I'll get my clapperboard as well. It's a lot easier with that because that will just cool the cloth as I press it. So we're just going to keep manipulating this so that that's nice and straight. Okay, this part is a little bit tricky because it's getting the edges of our pocket nice and straight. Okay, now that's near enough there. Now of course I can manipulate that while I'm on the sewing machine as well. So again, this part here, make sure that that's all now neatly folded in. That's all folded back, and again, so that's all really nicely straight. And eventually you'll get a really nice straight edge. Now as you can see, that there is near enough ready to stitch. So you got to keep on manipulating this with the press. Make sure that this edge is all straight, everything's folded in neatly, and when you've done that and it's all nice and flat, what we can do is just make sure that there's some pins, put some pins in here to hold the pocket bag nice and straight towards the waistcoat so that it's not moving around at all, okay, while you stitch this in place. And what we're doing is we're stitching from the top along here, across and back up, or you can go the other way. It's completely up to you. This could be like a design feature if you like, so you can go the other way, so you can start from here, go up here, across the top and back down. And what that does is it just catches in all of this V part to really make it look nice and neat. So again, on the other side, do the same. So from here up to the top, across the top and back down. And when you go back down, what you can do is manipulate this so this is all nice and straight as you go with the sewing machine. So as you can see, I've now stitched in the edges of my welt pocket, and as you can see, that's really now nice and neat. And we just need to just press this as a finishing touch. Just make sure that everything is nicely pressed on here. Make sure it's all nice and neat, all flat. Okay. Okay, we can take the pins out now as well at the bottom here, keeping the bag flat and out of the way. We don't need those. Just press it nice and neat. Everything's nice and flat. And as you can see, we now have our welt pocket in place. And of course you've got to do that with the other side as well. And once the welt pocket is in place, you're now ready to go on to the next video, where I will see you very soon.